This is part 3 of the psychology of doing the right thing. Some more case studies, post-World War II case studies. A slight trigger warning, I'm going to start with the My Lai massacre and I'll give you some background details, but not particularly explicit, and I will show you later on one photo from the abuses at Abu Ghraib. My Lai was a village in Vietnam where US forces went in during the Vietnamese War and massacred large numbers of people over the course of several hours. Estimates vary, but it could be as many as 500 people, everybody from babies to young children, women, old people. Most of the men were away at market.
Lieutenant Kelly ordered certain people to shoot these people, and I was one of them, and I refused. And he told me that he was going to have me a court-martial when we got back to base camp. And I told him what was on my mind at the time. Ordering me to shoot down innocent people, that's not an order. That's craziness to me, you know? And so I don't feel like I have to obey that. And if you want to court-martial me, you do that. If you can get away with it. I feel like it was horrible, you know, just a terrible thing to be going on, and American boys doing this, you know? And I feel like I'm a red-blooded American boy, just like any of the rest of the guys that was there, you know? And to see that, I'm talking about black or white, you know, black and white guys doing this, you know? It didn't make any difference. I'm saying it just seemed like a horrible thing. I'm telling you, we all came from the same place. To me, you know, we all came from the same place, and I know they all had to have the same values that I had somewhere along the line. If they didn't get it in school, they had to get it in religion, church, or some place, you know. If you didn't go to school, you know, you could pick it up from a stranger, you know. It's just simple, you know. But then to go and do something like this, it's immoral to me, you know. That's just the way I feel about it.
Hugh Thompson, who was a helicopter pilot overhead, intervened to some extent stop what was going on.
During the mission, as it was going on, we kept just reconning around. Started seeing a lot of bodies. It didn't add up, you know, how all these people were getting killed and wounded, and we weren't receiving any fire. Just, you know, it didn't make sense. There was too many casualties there. And how they were, the locations they were in, you know, figured out artillery couldn't do this, because there were, you know, bodies in places the artillery didn't hit, trying to get out of the village.
The radio traffic recorded between command helicopters betrays no knowledge of the slaughter that Warrant Officer Thompson was witnessing as he hovered just above ground. Between 9:30 and 10 o'clock, when he saw GIs advancing on another group of defenseless women and children, Thompson ordered his crew to turn their guns on their fellow Americans. Larry Coburn was Thompson's door gunner.
Warrant Officer Thompson was desperate to get these civilians, what he believed to be civilians, out of this bunker and into a safe area. He'd seen beforehand that what he was trying to do to help the people on the ground wasn't getting done. He was convinced that the ground forces would kill these people if he couldn't get to them first. He landed the aircraft in between the American forces and the Vietnamese people in the bunker. Got out of the aircraft, had us get out of the aircraft with our weapons to cover him, and he went and had words with a lieutenant on the ground. He asked the lieutenant how he could get these people out of the bunker. The lieutenant said the only way he knew was with hand grenades. So when Warrant Officer Thompson came back to the aircraft, he was furious. And he was desperate to get these people out of the bunker. He told us he was going over to the bunker himself to see if he could get them out. I don't even think he took a rifle with him. I think he was, besides a sidearm, he was relatively unarmed. He told us if the Americans were to open fire on these Vietnamese as he was getting them out of the bunker, that we should return fire on the Americans.
When I did instruct my crew chief and gunner, you know, to open up on them if they open up on any more civilians, I don't know how I'd have felt if they would have opened up on them. But that particular day, I wouldn't have given it a second thought. They were the enemy at that time, I guess. They were damn sure the enemy to the people on the ground.
Thompson's actions didn't go down well at the time. He was very unpopular. He and his crew were sent on very dangerous missions, and he was in fact shot down. One of the crew was killed. Thompson was seriously injured. When news of the massacre emerged and got back to the States, and there are some heroic stories about those people who managed to get the States to pay attention to it. One influential politician said the only person who did anything wrong at My Lai was Hugh Thompson. But as these things go, his actions were recognised much later. Much later, his actions were rewarded, and he was awarded the highest level of medal for courageous action, not actually in conflict. Characteristically, he refused to accept the medal to start with until his two other crew members were given the same medal. Now for something completely different. Palo Alto, California, 1971 was when the Stanford prison experiment was conducted. And the standard version of this is that after a few days, Zimbardo realized that things were going badly wrong and stopped the study. This isn't actually what happened, as Zimbardo admits and has written up in his 2007 book, The Lucifer Effect. The person who was important in stopping the study was Chris Maslach. At the time, she was a research student at Stanford. Zimbardo was a member of faculty, and she was going out with Zimbardo. And Zimbardo invited Chris Maslach down to the fake prison to see this interesting stuff that was going on. When she got there and saw what was happening, she was appalled and furious and told him that it had to stop. This did not go down well. She didn't care if everyone in the world thought what I was doing was okay. It was simply wrong. And here's what she said about it. Actually, fairly quickly, Zimbardo realised that she was right and did go ahead with stopping the study. It was fairly courageous for her as a research student to stand up to him as a member of faculty. It was also something which endangered their relationship. I'm pleased to say their relationship carried on. They were married 50 odd years later. They're still married, and as far as I know, very happy, which is quite unusual for academics. You will know about the Rwanda genocide. And you probably know something about Paul Rusesabagina, who used the hotel that he was manager of to shelter large numbers of people for several months and saved a lot of lives. The story, as told by him, is in the book An Ordinary Man, which is a good read, and also in the film Hotel Rwanda. It's clear that Rusesabagina showed enormous courage, ingenuity and creativity and energy in keeping the whole thing going. You can find out the details easily enough. I'll talk a bit more about Rusesabagina and what he said about what he was doing in the final part of this lecture. During the Second Iraq War in 2004, in Abu Ghraib prison, a group of prison warders and their hangers-on started to systematically, physically and sexually abuse prisoners. They recorded these actions in a large number of photos, which were passed around the base and were eventually leaked to the authorities by Joe Darby, who he says came across these photos accidentally, realized the crimes they were revealing and leaked them to the authorities. Initially he tried to do that anonymously, but it was fairly quickly discovered by the authorities who the source was, but they kept it a close secret because he would have been in danger in the base if people knew that he was the whistleblower. After the whole thing had blown up in the States and was big news, Donald Rumsfeld, a senior politician, outed Darby, and this did not go down well with the American public. As usual, people you might regard as heroes can be seen as villains and traitors at the time. So that's a wide range, and I hope an inspiring range of examples. I'll go on in the next section to talk about some more systematic, psychometric, academic studies to try and build a psychology of what's going on.